Hello, everybody. Boa noite a todos.
Boa noite.
Boa noite. So I guess I shall begin by introducing myself. My name is Vanessa Macedo. I'm a lawyer. I lived for about 20 years abroad, 17 of those in the United States. My first degree, undergraduate quer dizer diploma de graduação, was in international relations. And I also did a master's in international relations in France. And after that, I came back to Brazil and became a lawyer. But I've been devoting myself to teaching legal English, helping lawyers navigate the civil law system and the common law system. I am so glad you could join me tonight. I know that legal English is a very important tool for every single legal professional and his or her career, and as well as a very important tool for Brazilian advocacy as a whole. So without much further ado, I will begin today's topic. Oh, by the way, I tend to speak a little fast, so I am going to try to police myself and speak a little bit slower. You can talk to me via chat. I won't be able to respond to answer every single comment because we're going to be many here, and we need to keep the class flowing. But at the end, I will read all the comments, and I'll begin next class by addressing your questions, okay? But let me know if I'm speaking too fast or, there are any problems, you can let me know. Okay, Bruno, who is also from Speak Legal, is here with us for the class, and he will be keeping an eye for questions. Okay, great. So let me share my screen with you. And the topic of the class today is law practice, but I just want to do a brief introduction about, oh, wait a minute, I have a pen here. I need to stop this pen. Good. I would like to do a brief introduction about common law. So what is common law? Common law is well, there are several definitions for common law. So let's begin by studying some of the terms. And by the way, this first table that you're seeing is how the Speak Legal method works. For every term, I'll give you a sound adaptation and the definition. We are not going to do that throughout the class because, I do want to be able to give you a good amount of information, condense the information. So we're not going to be going through several tables, but I'll try to speak about every single legal term that we come across, okay? So common law is a legal system. Legal system, sistema jurídico. Now, common law, and you can just use the same word in Portuguese, common law. Common law é o sistema jurídico da Inglaterra e das ex-colônias inglesas e Estados Unidos, baseado no costume, princípios e precedentes judiciais. So, lei, law, right? And here we'll come to a very distinct feature about the common law legal system. There are two ways you can express the term law in English. So the first one, statute. And do you notice that the word is written in red? It's written in red because it's a false friend, falso cognato, ou como eu gosto de brincar, uma falciane. It sounds like estatuto, but it's not. By the way, I don't even like to give you the wrong translation. Statute means lei promulgada pelo Poder Legislativo. Another synonym for it is act. Act. A-C-T. Act. So, statute or act, lei promulgada pelo Poder Legislativo. But lei, law, within the common law system also means case law, or judge-made law, which são os precedentes que são lei. Therefore, when you are explaining Brazilian law to a person who works or who comes from a common law system, if you want to make it clear that you're talking about lei promulgada pelo Poder Legislativo, you should use the word statute, or statutory law. Let me write this down. Use our chat for that. So, statutory law. Just one second. Here it is, I think. Yeah. Statutory law. Okay, good. So, as opposed to case law or judge-made law, the same thing. They mean the same thing. São sinônimos. Case law or judge-made law são os precedentes que são lei no sistema jurídico do common law. Then we have the word customs, costume. Now, a very interesting term, legally binding. So, two words, legally, juridicamente. To bind things is to glue them together, to attach them. So, legally binding, juridicamente vinculante. So, some precedents are legally binding, a binding precedent, precedente vinculante. So, this is the common law system, right? Now, our system in Brazil is the civil law system, direito romano-germânico. Civil law also means direito civil. It will depend on the context, right? But if you're explaining our legal system to someone who's not from Brazil, you can say, we are a civil law system. Okay. Now, I told you that the translation or the definition of common law is a little bit complex, right? And I'm giving you the source of these definitions, o Dicionário de Direito, Economia e Contabilidade, português e inglês, do Marcílio Moreira de Castro. This dictionary, you can find it online, and the author has uploaded the dictionary to the web, and you can use it. It's not bound by any type of intellectual property right. So besides the Dicionário do Marcílio, I also used a very good source also for legal definitions from Cornell Law School. So this is also a good source you should take notice of. Law Cornell Edu. Okay. Anyhow, the definitions of common law. So common law is the legal system, the very first definition we just spoke about. Common law is the legal system of the United Kingdom, the United States, and other former British colonies. It is based on customs, principles, and precedents. Now, another definition is common law is law that is derived from judicial, and this is the pronunciation, judicial decisions instead of from statutes. So judicial decisions are also known as case law or judge-made law, direito consuetudinário. In addition to that, common law is the law developed by English courts of law in contrast to those developed by courts of equity. E a gente vai falar sobre isso daqui a pouco. This relates to the consolidation or the emergence of common law itself. And I will explain it later. Let's put this third definition aside for the moment. Finally, the fourth definition, common law can mean the law that is applicable to the whole country, pro país inteiro, the national law, as opposed to the local law. Well, this is a little bit pushing it, but it is a definition, okay? So we will talk about precedents and what makes a legally binding precedent or not within the common law system to next class, when we talk about the judicial system, the judiciary, the Brazilian and the US judiciary. So we are going to skip this part, and then let's talk a little bit about the origins of common law. So common law originated with the Norman conquest of England. Who are the Normans? The Normans were Vikings who settled Brittany, which is the region of France called Bretagne. And during the reign of William I, they conquered England. And England was basically a series of settlements by different Anglo-Saxon tribes, each one with their own legal system. So King William I appointed traveling judges who were tasked with applying a unified legal principle or unified legal principles across the land. And thus, emerged common law. This was in the 11th century. Now, by the 15th century, something became apparent. And the problem was that courts of law were not always just and fair. They didn't deliver equity. So the Lord Chancellor, a politician, was put in charge of overseeing equity courts. This left a mark within the common law system, meaning that different terms that mean the same thing were different. Sorry, I will rephrase what I'm saying. Terms meaning the same thing were different when used in courts of law or in courts of equity. So, for example, right now in some states in the US, when you get a divorce, you get a divorce decree. A decree, this term comes from courts of equity, but it just means a ruling, uma sentença. So that's why you're going to find that within common law, sometimes you have duplicity. You have two terms for the same specific phenomenon. In addition, when the Normans invaded England, they spoke French, Old French, and that became the language of the elite. This led to the courts adopting French as well. And this also left a mark in legal English in the use of doublets, ou seja, são palavras que são usadas em duplicidade, and they mean the same thing. One of them having an English origin, the other one having a French or Latin root. So, for example, for testament, you have will and testament. Will coming from English and testament coming from French. Now, with the nowadays, we are trying to distance ourselves from very complicated language and trying to adopt simple English terms within legal documents. So you should just use one of the terms, usually the English term. to express, the definition you are searching. I'll give you other examples of this duplicity. For example, cease and desist, ordem de não fazer. Null and void, também nulo. Né? Okay, so that was just a little introduction to the legal system, the common law legal system. Let's move on to law practice. So, which is, our main topic today. So, law practice. Law practice has two meanings, right? So, by law practice, you can mean the practice of law, your work as a lawyer, but you can also mean your place of work, your office, o seu escritório. So, law practice, a atuação do advogado, and law practice, o seu escritório, o escritório do advogado. Now, I have a question for you guys. You see these lawyers on screen? They're quite smiley, right? Why do you think they're smiling? What would be your guess? Lawyers are very friendly. They are very happy-go-lucky bunch. I would say they're smiling because they work for big law. Are you familiar with big law? Now, big law are the most powerful and prominent law firms in the world. Before we move on, let's look at the headline. Shock and awe. Kirkland litigators bring a powerful all-hands-on-deck approach to their practice. Litigators. So litigators, that means a lawyer who specializes in bringing lawsuits, in taking legal action against people or organizations. So litigators, lawyers. And shock and awe, let's look at a translation for that. Let's move to our next slide. So shock and awe, abordagem de chocar e estarrecer. Shock and awe, was the name of a military tactic that was used in Iraq in 2003. And, this expression became mainstream. Abordagem de chocar e estarrecer. And all hands on deck, the deck of a ship, right? Então, the whole team cooperating. Right here on your right, and by the way, I am going to be giving you guys this, this document. I'll send it to Esther, so Esther can send you to, eu vou mandar para Esther mandar para vocês. And here we have a listing of a ranking of all of the major big law firms. I thought it would be interesting. I thought you would be curious to look at it. So these specific lawyers, they work for Kirkland and Ellis. By the way, the headquarters, o escritório principal, né? The headquarters of these law firms are usually in New York, in Amsterdam, in London, Chicago. That's it. So let's first talk about lawyers in the UK. You might not know, but being a lawyer in the UK actually encompasses two careers. Então, os advogados são divididos em duas carreiras distintas in the United Kingdom, specifically England and Wales. So you have barristers and you have solicitors. Can you see the pictures here? Barristers and solicitors. So you'll see that barristers are very full of garb. They're very pompous, right? They wear a wig. Here's the wig. They wear a robe or gown. And let's see the difference. Now, solicitors, they look more like, Brazilian lawyers. Let's see here. Solicitors, UK lawyers who advise clients on legal matters. legal matters, assuntos jurídicos, and often work in law firms, escritórios de advocacia, or in-house legal departments. In-house legal departments, departamentos jurídicos de empresas, de organizações, ou outras organizações, right? So let's keep moving. Before we describe what each lawyer... Oh, I see there is a Cássia. My name is Vanessa de Cássia. Hello, Cássia. So before I go on explaining the difference between barristers and solicitors, let me just tell you that the division happens along the lines of tasks, tarefas. Each career has its own regulator and professional organization. You know, here in Brazil, for us, the Brazilian Bar Association, OAB, is both a regulator and a professional organization. You're going to see that in England, these two functions or features are separate. So for a barrister to be licensed, he or she has to follow the standards of the Bar Standards Association. And in terms of advocacy or lobbying for the in the interest of barristers, the Bar Council does that. And while they are in training, they have to join an organization or one of the 4 Inns of Courts. So basically, an Inn of Court is it's several things at once. While a barrister is going through his or her training, it serves as a place for networking, for a place where they will be attending lectures, and most importantly, where they will do their pupillage. And I'll talk about that later. It's a specific part of their training. And for solicitors, they have the Solicitor Regulator Authority and the Law Society. I'm just curious if you guys knew that in the UK, the profession, the lawyers are divided into 2 professions, or 2 careers, I should say. You can tell me, you can write it down, answer, you know, you can type your answer using the chat, okay? So let's continue. I see I have a new message here. No idea, me neither, yeah. So I find that quite interesting, right? What you usually see when you're watching movies, you see a barrister, because it's more pompous, right? Usually series and movies, they like to show courtroom drama. So there you go. You usually see the barristers, but both are equally important. Okay, so let's see. Oh, here we have some words, some terms, I'm sorry. So barristers, as of 2022, there were 17,538 barristers practicing in the UK. So barristers specialize in courtroom advocacy and litigation and represent clients in court, right? So they wear a wig, they wear a robe, and they work in chambers. So a chamber can mean 2 things. It can mean the group of barristers who practice in the same address. So seria a banca de barristers. And it also means their offices, né? O gabinete deles. You can also talk about, for example, judge chambers, so gabinete dos barristers, or, you know, the offices of the barristers. And this is, and I couldn't bring the exercise today because it's, you know, we are pressed for time, but this was an interesting article from the Financial Times, banks and law firms in the UK demand more female barristers. There is a big push in the UK for more diversity within, you know, and all types of diversity within the legal profession. Now, the requirements for becoming a barrister. First, you have to earn your Bachelor of Laws, or if you have a degree in another career, you can do a 1-year graduate diploma in law. Então, traduzindo, ou você faz um bacharelado em direito, ou faz um outro tipo de bacharelado, e depois desse bacharelado você faz um diploma de pós-graduação que se cumpre normalmente em 1 ano, tá? O GDL. Second step, you have to join an IN so that you can do step number 3, okay? So you join one of the INs, one of those 4 organizations that I showed you at the beginning. They are quite traditional. This document has links, so I definitely advise you to take a look at the links. I think you'll have fun. They are quite traditional and quite intriguing, I find. You see that barristers have very straight or very tight contact with newcoming barristers, have a very close relationship with barristers who are already practicing. And there's a lot of tradition that goes on, and a lot of opportunity to be hands-on with the profession before you're actually out, working on your own. So one of the 4, barristers have to join an IN, one of the 4 professional membership associations for barristers in England and Wales. The deadline quer dizer o quê? Prazo. The deadline for applying is at least 12 weeks prior to the start of the vocational component of training. O que é isso, vocational component of training? It's a course, for further specialization, usually a full year course. Oh, by the way, both before you join an IN and after you finish, and prior to being called to the bar twice, they do a fit and proper check. So fit and proper will mean idoneidade e aptidão, né? Então eles fazem uma verificação dos antecedentes da pessoa. Okay, so continuing, after you join the IN, you do your vocational components. And they started, they are more flexible with this vocational components now. Nowadays, you can also do an LLM if you want, instead of, the more traditional courses. And finally, and this final step is quite burdensome. Burdensome quer dizer trabalhoso, difícil. You have to do a 1-year pupillage. So, pupillage. This is a practical training period. Então, é um treinamento prático, né? Of at least 12 months under the supervision of an experienced barrister. So 6 months, you're not practicing, you're observing and you're studying, and 6 months you are practicing. Now, there is one major problem with this. There are not enough spots. So it's very common for people to have to wait 2 years before they can secure a position, a spot, uma vaga, né? So, o que isso significa? This means that becoming a barrister requires at least 4 years of higher education, followed by 1 year of practical training. Eu esqueci de dizer que a faculdade de Direito, the Bachelor of Laws, it's a 3 3-year degree, only 3 years, but then, you have the additional steps. Here I'm saying 4 years of higher education because I'm counting the LLB plus the vocational component. And then you have to do 1 year of your practical training, your pupillage. And altogether, that is the 5 years, except that it's very difficult to secure pupillage straight away. Most people can't. So, I would say usually it takes 7 years to become a barrister. Okay, so those were the facts for barristers. Since they practice law in court, in juízo, let's look at some terms regarding, procedural law terms. So the main characteristic of a barrister is that they have full rights of audience in all courts. That means that they can argue or plead cases. So to argue a case, to plead a case, quer dizer, sustentar caso. So they can argue and plead cases in all courts, em juízo, em todas as instâncias. Representar o cliente em juízo, participar de audiências em qualquer instância. So, by the way, the rights of audience, essa palavra audience is related to the fact that they can be heard by the court. They can plead their case. Agora, a palavra audiência em si, o ato processual, a audiência is a hearing. So 2 different concepts, the full rights of audience in all courts, which means that they can plead and they can argue cases in all courts, em todas as instâncias. And, oh, sorry, I can't talk to you right now, I'm late, I have a hearing. Eu tenho uma audiência. Now, como é que a gente diz propor, ingressar com uma ação? Several ways of saying that. The first way would be to file a lawsuit, against someone, or to file suit against someone. Yet another choice, to bring an action against someone. Propor, ingressar com uma ação. All of these are technical ways of saying propor, ingressar com uma ação. Now, what people who are not lawyers, what they usually say is, I'm going to sue you. So to sue someone, processar alguém. You've seen that in movies. I'm going to sue you, see you in court. But that's not the most technical way of mentioning propor ou ingressar com uma ação. To file a lawsuit is the most widely used. And petições, pleadings. So you plead your case and you also file your pleadings. Now, petição inicial, we have 2 terms. In most cases in the US, you're going to use the term complaint for petição inicial. In the UK, you're going to use the word claim. Now, contestação is quite easy, answer, right? And then an interesting one, reconvenção makes sense, right? It's a counterclaim. So, petição inicial, complaint or claim, e reconvenção, counterclaim. Now, recorrer, to appeal. And then, primeira instância, segunda instância, it might sound funny, but it is correct. First instance or second instance. You can also use the terminology lower court or higher court. And if you want to mention instâncias superiores, nas instâncias superiores, higher courts or appellate. Pay attention to the pronunciation of this last word, appellate courts. And then I have, I didn't write it down for you, but I'm going to ask you anyhow. Juiz is judge, right? And what about desembargador ou ministro? How would you say that? So, desembargador ou ministro is quite poetic in English. It is justice, justice. So, you would say Justice Alexandre de Moraes, Justice Rosa Weber, justice. So, they're justice, walking around in court, wearing their robes. So poetic, right? Okay, so we're talking about barristers, right? So let's now talk about solicitors. Now, solicitors. And look at the numbers, by the way. How many barristers were there in England in 2022? 17,500 approximately, right? So 17,500 barristers who specialize in courtroom advocacy. Now let's take a look at solicitors. How many are there? 161,000. So almost 1 to 10, right? The ratio between barristers and solicitors is aproximadamente, roughly 1 to 10. So what do they do, right? Some of the most well-known or characteristic tasks that solicitors perform. Well, they deal a lot with contracts. So, como se diz redigir contrato? Redigir. Redigir, draft. To draft a contract. So, solicitors, they draft contracts. Now, look at this, how interesting it is. So, you can draft a contract. E como se diria a minuta de contrato? A minuta de contrato. A minuta de contrato é contract draft. Contract draft. In general, a draft é rascunho, tá? No inglês do dia a dia, a draft é o rascunho. A contract draft é a minuta do contrato. But pay attention, because now we have another false friend, outro falso cognato, tá? Minutes. Minutes. So, minutes, ata de reunião. Ata de reunião. I'm going to try to write down here, use the chat to write down this expression. So, for example, it's quite, when I first graduated from college in the US, there was a recurrent gender bias question at the young, professionals who happen to be female. Who will take the minutes? Who will take the minutes? So to take the minutes, let me try to write here. Is that it? Who will take the minutes? That means quem vai redigir a ata da reunião? Who will take the minutes? Guys, why can't I find a place to write? That's quite interesting. Let me open my chat. Yeah. Is that it? No. I will write this down at the end of our class. Can you see me? Oh, meu Deus. Can you hear me and see me? Yeah, I guess you can. Okay. Yes, you can. Thank you, guys. Oh, and I found myself here. Thank you. So, thank you so much. Who will take the minutes? Quem redigirá a ata da reunião? Let's just, who will take the minutes? So, the minutes, ata da região. Now I can see myself. Da reunião, sorry. Da reunião. Okay. For some reason, I can't see myself, but we'll leave it at that. Okay, another very important term is an out-of-court settlement. Out-of-court settlement. acordo extrajudicial. Okay? So you can settle. To settle something is to entrar em acordo. Not only in court, in life too, we can settle issues, right? So to settle, entrar em acordo, conciliar. To settle out of court, celebrar acordo extrajudicial. And out of court settlement, acordo extrajudicial. So here we have the main tasks performed by solicitors. Solicitors advise clients on legal matters, including drafting contracts, negotiating settlements, and often work in law firms or in-house legal departments. By the way, it's not written here, but it's very important. Solicitors can also plead cases in lower courts, just in lower courts, okay? Nowadays, they can plead cases in higher court if they undertake additional training. Então, eles têm a possibilidade hoje em dia de eles fazem mais cursos, né? Tem um curso de complementação para poder advogar nas instâncias superiores. Such a pity I can't see myself and I can't see you guys. Let me see here. Bruno, if you're seeing me, can you give me a tip here on what I should press? Okay. I'm going to continue, guys. So, solicitors can represent clients in lower courts, but for higher courts, unless they have taken additional courses or additional training, they will have to hire a barrister to represent their clients. Okay. And by the way, in law firms, most of people who work in law firms, including big law, they are solicitors. So, we should be under no impression that solicitors are lesser, que são menos importantes que os barristers. No, they just perform different functions, different tasks. But it is true that barristers have more of an allure, right? They have more of that traditional appeal. Okay, so let's continue. Oh no, I found myself. Guys, I am so sorry. Desculpa, gente, agora eu consegui. Eu tinha clicado em alguma coisa esquisita e agora voltei à vida. Thank you. Okay, so thanks. Eu estava um pouquinho perdida, gente. Okay, so let's continue. So here I have two very prominent law firms, and you can click on them and explore and see the profiles, and you can see for yourselves. You can see for yourselves. Vocês podem ver por si mesmos, né? Que sim, top positions at law firms are performed by solicitors. Ou seja, que os solicitors têm carreiras de muito sucesso e encabeçam os escritórios de advocacia mais renomados. Bem, so let's look at into more detail at the tasks performed by solicitors. Solicitors carry out, ou seja, eles desenvolvem pre-trial work in preparation of cases and have rights of audience in lower courts. Solicitors who undertake additional higher rights qualification become solicitor advocates and can appear in all courts. Então, aqueles solicitors que passam por essa qualificação para ter o higher rights of audience se chamam solicitor advocates. And they can appear in all courts. Eles podem sustentar os casos, representar os clientes em juízos em todas as instâncias. Now, they represent only 5%, roughly, of solicitors as a whole. I mean, the solicitor advocates, right? Porque são 7.000 em 161, pouco menos que 5%, a little bit under 5%. Now, how do you become a solicitor? And here we should take a break. Lembra que eu contei para vocês que tem todo esse movimento para maior inclusão e diversidade no sistema jurídico, né? Da Inglaterra e do País de Gales. So now, prior to this movement, solicitors had to go to law school, right? Or they could have another diploma, another degree, I'm sorry, they could have another degree, and then do that 1-year GDL, the 1-year graduate course in law. Nowadays, this has become optional. So, número 1, eles podem ter o diploma em direito, né? Ir para a faculdade de direito, ou uma outra faculdade e 1 ano de pós-graduação em direito, or, and this is the major change, equivalent qualification or work experience. So there are many technical professions related to law within the common law system. For example, in the US, you have paralegals, right? There was a very famous movie. You guys are too young, but I don't know. I think it was in the year, around the year 2000. I'm not sure. Erin Brockovich, a movie with Julia Roberts. She was a paralegal. She wasn't a lawyer. So nowadays, if you have a technical, more, technical degree in law, but you are not a lawyer, and you prove that you have substantial work experience, and you pass a standardized test, exame de múltipla escolha, que também, aliás, tem também a parte de escrever, a parte discursiva, perdão. And you take this exam, then, you can, after they check your character and aptitude or suitability, you can become a solicitor. Now, if you, so basically, let's say you are working, you've been working in a technical capacity with law, and you've worked for over, 2 years. And the regulator finds that, yes, you have met certain standards. All you have to do is pass your solicitor's qualifying exam and pass your character and suitability requirement. Examination, I could say, right? It's not an examination meaning that it's an exam, but meaning that they're gonna look into your character. They're going to ascertain whether you are morally fit and physically fit, mentally fit to become a solicitor. Now, if you come right out of high school, se você sai do ensino médio and you go to law school, then you still have to get your 2-year work experience. Just as barristers have their pupillage, you're going to have 2 years of work experience, besides passing the solicitor qualifying exam. Ficou claro? Então, é opcional para aqueles que provam que já trabalham e que há vários anos e que têm o know-how e fazem um exame que seria mais ou menos equivalente, né, ao exame da ordem aqui no Brasil. E passam também por essa verificação de idoneidade moral e aptidão. Then, that's it. They can become solicitors. Now, if you go straight from high school, then you're going to have to do the solicitor's qualifying exam, and you also have to prove that you have enough work experience, 2 years of full-time work experience. So that's it. Now, an interesting thing. I had a student who once told me, Vanessa, I'm working with a lawyer from England, and right after his name, there is a comma, Q, tá? Q é Q. K é K. So QC, Queen's Counsel. O que é isso? What is that? Well, King's Counsel is an honorific, is a title that's given to you or that is granted to you because it's an award, right? Então é concedido, granted, for recognition of excellence. This is in England. Again, we're still in England and Wales. So King's Counsel, they are appointed because they have demonstrated excellence in advocacy in difficult cases in the higher courts of England and Wales or tribunals and arbitrations. Now, notice that you have to plead cases at higher courts. Therefore, traditionally, only barristers were eligible for this title, King's Counsel. Nowadays, both barristers and solicitor advocates who plead cases in higher courts, then they are eligible. They can apply and try to be granted the title of King's Counsel. So what I told my student is at that time, there was no king, there was a queen, right? Queen Elizabeth. So I told her, that means that, you know, this lawyer that is working with you is very highly qualified. He is at the top of his profession. So if you ever work or come in contact with someone, a lawyer, a barrister, or a solicitor advocate from the UK, and you know, you see that they have QC at the end of their title, that means that they are very well respected within their profession. So QC is a recognition of excellence. They are elite lawyers, a top honorific, you know, it is the top honorific a lawyer can get. King's Counsel are also known as silk seda, as they are given the right to wear silk gowns and robes. Então, here we have the tradition, as I told you, and this was, you know, this was an honor conferred upon barristers, all that tradition. So another way of saying that they are being, you know, appointed QC is to say they are taking the silk. They are taking the silk. So appointment as a King's Counsel is known as taking the silk. Around 10% of all barristers are King's Counsels, I'm sorry. As I said, traditionally, only barristers could be appointed KC, King's Counsel. And since 1995, solicitor advocates can be appointed KC, or at the time it wasn't KC. At the time it was QC. You know, there is a big discrepancy between the number of KCs who are barristers and the number of KCs who are solicitors. As of 2020, only 56 solicitors, and they weren't solicitors, they were solicitor advocates, right, were KCs. For example, in 2021, 101 lawyers were appointed QC, porque ainda era Rainha Elizabeth, and only 5, you know, out of 101, only 5 were solicitors. And then, you know, just to mention that, you know, the honorific changes from queen to king according to the reigning monarch. Okay. Enough said about England and Wales. Let's move across the pond. So a pond é o quê? A pond é um laguinho, uma poça. So let's go from New York to London. Now, I was so happy when I created this slide. It gave me a lot of pleasure. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention two terms. Appointed, to appoint and to nominate. Okay? To nominate, indicar. To appoint, nomear. Again, nominate, indicar. Just remember the Oscars. And the nominees are, os indicados são, and then appoint, nomeados. Okay? Anyhow, going back now let's go back to the United States. I was saying that I was very glad when I created this specific slide, because in 2023, for the first time, the American Bar Association, which is the equivalent, roughly equivalent, right? Mais ou menos o correspondente to our OAB, was presided by a Native American woman. So here is her picture. Her name is Mary L. Smith, and she was the very first Native American woman to lead the American Bar Association. By the way, I do advise you guys to follow the ABA Instagram. You know, that's a great way of getting in touch with legal English. Follow the ABA on your Instagram. Another one that I advise is Bloomberg Law. Bloomberg Law. Okay, so two terms here. Newly inaugurated, inauguration é a posse, tá? The inauguration of President Clinton, President Biden. So newly inaugurated Mary L. Smith, recém-empossada. And o mandato, tenure, to have tenure. So if you click on the link, you're going to see, you'll be able to read the whole article about this historic moment. So US lawyers are not split into two careers as their British counterparts. So counterpart, what does that mean? A counterpart? Correspondente, né? Equivalente, correspondente. So they are not divided into two careers. They're, more similar to Brazilian lawyers. However, their training is different, right? So let's look at, whenever you see a word in red, you know it's a false friend, é falso cognato. Soa como uma palavra em português, mas tem outro significado, right? So graduate school é pós-graduação, tá? Mestrado, doutorado, graduate school. Pós-graduação, graduate, quer dizer pós-graduação. Undergraduate, graduação. So it is truly uma pegadinha, né? É uma pegadinha, dá nó na cabeça da gente. But law school in the US is a 3-year graduate degree program. É diploma de pós-graduação que dura 3 anos. This means that prospective law students, prospective law students são alunos em potencial, né? Futuros alunos. They must first complete a 4-year undergraduate degree. Primeiro, eles têm que completar diploma de graduação. So, law school in the US is not an undergraduate degree. It's a graduate. Now, what do you have to study as an undergraduate student? It doesn't matter what you study, as long as you do very well, because your grades will matter a lot. Typically, students will study political science, philosophy, but nowadays, it's very appreciated, for example, for people with a technical background to go into law school. Let's suppose you studied computer science. Some law schools will look at that very favorably, vão realmente olhar aquilo como plus, Because, for example, let's say you mentioned that you want to become an intellectual property lawyer, and you did your undergraduate degree in computer science. That will be helpful, right? When you're looking at patents and so forth. So again, traditionally you have people would do something within humanities, but not necessarily. Now, upon graduation from law school, students receive the title of Juris Doctor, JD. E aqui uma coisa muito interessante, gente. How do lawyers call themselves in Brazil? Como a gente, né, se refere um advogado ao outro? Doutor e doutora, right? Don't do that to an American lawyer. When you meet an American lawyer, don't call him doctor. He or she will be quite embarrassed because a doctor means that you have, in the US, a doctor, the title doctor refers to you having a PhD, or que é né, o equivalente a doutorado, or in the case of a PhD in law, it's called a Doctor of Juridical Science, right? Which is the equivalent to a PhD in law. So you just call them by Mr. and Mrs. Oh, I'm sorry, I take that back. Mr. or Ms. And then their last name. Gente, aqui, olha, foi realmente slip of the tongue. And let me try to... so you have M-E-S-S, Miss, as senhorita. Very few people use that any longer. Now, M-S ponto, Ms. It's what most professional women use. Because it doesn't tell your marital status, tá? Não denota o seu estado civil. MS ponto. Você pode ser solteira ou casada. Assim como o homem é Mr. se ele tiver casado ou solteiro, ou divorciado, a mulher, Ms., também, independente do estado civil, ela é Ms., né? Então, a Mrs., na verdade, é senhora de. It's very formal and very old-fashioned. I would not advise calling anyone Mrs. unless the person tells you, I want to be called Mrs. such and such. Then, that's her own decision, and I would respect that as well. Okay. So the average law school graduate is usually in his or her mid-20s, right? He will be or she a little bit older than the Brazilian law school graduates because they don't go straight away. And some people take time between their undergraduate degree and their graduate degree. They might have a gap. Pode ter aí espaço de tempo entre o diploma de graduação e a decisão de começar a estudar, a ingressar numa pós-graduação em Direito. Que não é aquela pós-graduação curtinha, não. É a faculdade de Direito, né? Law School. Okay. Now, let's talk about your practice. Now, law practice. The practice of law. The act of practicing law. Como a gente já falou, é a atuação do advogado na advocacia ou law firm or law office, o escritório de advocacia. So, o seu escritório de advocacia, law firm, law office, your law practice. Some more vocabulary here, some additional vocabulary for you. On a daily basis, every day, right? Challenging, desafiadora. Sorry, guys, my throat was getting dry. Rewarding, gratificante, recompensador. Another interesting expression, to take a look at, examinar, dar uma olhada, né? To turn your attention to take a look at something. Please take a look at this contract for me. Now, to ring, right, colloquial, né? É soar. You can ring a bell, você pode tocar a campainha, your phone rings, o seu telefone toca. So does that ring right to you? Soa certo? And to go through a situation, experience a situation. Now, to deal with or cope with, lidar. And help someone through a situation, ajudar alguém a passar por uma situação, to deal with a situation. And why are we learning these expressions? so that we can analyze this. Again, you'll be able to click on the link. So this lawyer called Rachel Gizurzi, sorry. It's not a typical American name. She wrote a book, right? About preparing for a career in law. And this is the quote she provided. Why is it called the practice of law? And then you can think about it and, you can tell me if you would like, if you agree with it or not. They call it the practice of law for a reason, because it is really hard. And on a daily basis, you are presented with challenges and you need to practice and get better. And you make mistakes, and it's just the best thing ever to be able to call up someone who isn't your boss é chefe, who is in your network, who can help you and give advice and just help you through this very difficult, challenging, and rewarding career that we have. So basically, she's calling the attention to the importance of networking and having mentors while you go through law school and when you're beginning and throughout your career. Okay, let's move on to some other terms. So we saw at the beginning of our class the term legal department, departamento jurídico. We also have the term legal matters or legal issues, assuntos jurídicos, questões jurídicas. Now, you can be a solo practitioner. And that means, no nosso contexto, advogado autônomo, né? Advogado PJ. We already spoke about the American Bar Association, which is the equivalent to our OAB. Há diferenças, tá? Because the licensing in the US, they happen at the state level. And at the national level, the ABA works with, defending the rights of lawyers, defending the rule of law, o Estado Democrático de Direito, okay? And we have the expression bar exam. Bar exam quer dizer exame, é o equivalente, né, ao exame de ordem. And then, finally, this might be surprising to you, the word party. So we all know party, vamos celebrar, festa, but to be a party to, pay attention to the preposition. Cuidado com a preposição, tá? To be a party to be a party to a lawsuit, to be a party to a contract, ser parte, tá? Or a party can also mean, and that's not a legal definition of party, a group of people involved in an activity. So when you're making a dinner reservation, when you arrive at a restaurant, the waiter or the host or hostess will ask you, how many in your party? Quantos no seu grupo? I would like to make, or you can say, I'd like to make a reservation for a party of 10, a party of 12. So we come to a question now. The practice of law is as varied as it is challenging. Tão variada quanto desafiadora, né? What type of law do you practice or do you intend to practice? Do you work in a law firm, a legal department of a company, or maybe a not-for-profit organization? What is a not-for-profit organization? É uma ONG, né? Perhaps you're sole practitioner. So, how do we say advogado in English? We already saw, an umbrella term, lawyer, right? Now, and we saw the terms for British lawyers, both barristers and solicitors. Now, in the US, there is a term, there are other terms also used in the US and in the UK, and some only in the US. So here are they, or here they are, I'm sorry. Attorney at law, attorney, in-house counsel, general counsel. There are others, but these are the ones I'm bringing for you today. So lawyer is an umbrella term, and according to the American Bar Association, you have to be a licensed professional to call yourself a lawyer. I have seen people on Instagram saying that if you go to law school, you're a lawyer. If you go to law school in the US, you're a lawyer. Well, I don't say that to my students because the American Bar Association begs to differ, right? The American Bar Association doesn't say so. The American Bar Association says that you have to be a licensed professional. You have to pass your bar exam to call yourself a lawyer. So basically, this is what I write here. I am trying to catch up a little bit with our time. We still have a lot to see. And then attorney at law. Now, to be an attorney, this is a term that is used in the US, okay? It is not traditionally used in the UK. They understand it, but they find, it's like, oh, it's an American term. It's not a term that we use. So the full term is attorney at law. It's used in writing, in business cards, in door signs or plaques, like I'm showing here. Door signs, and informal introductions. If I had a colleague here by my side, I would say, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Smith. He is an attorney at law at Kirkland & Ellis. But usually when people are introducing themselves, I'll say, hi, my name is Vanessa Macedo, I'm an attorney. Now, the difference between the term lawyer and attorney is that attorneys, this term attorney is used to talk about lawyers who represent clients in court. So for example, me, I am a lawyer, I have my OAB card, but nowadays I am devoted to teaching legal English, and I am not representing clients in court. So I will say that I'm a lawyer, I'm not an attorney. Okay. You don't need additional qualification to call yourself an attorney, but it's usually used, meaning that you're representing a client. Okay, we also saw at the beginning of our class, we saw the term in-house counsel. So in-house counsel, it is a lawyer who works in a legal department, be it in a company or in a nonprofit, or even maybe a governmental entity. So, agency, I should say. So, an in-house counsel is a lawyer who is employed by an organization, company, or government agency and works internally. So that's what defines an in-house counsel, right? Providing legal advice and services exclusively to that entity. Here I brought you an interesting, I find it interesting. I'm quite curious. So I like to know these statistics. I brought you some graphs of the pay scale, how much lawyers earn. So how much do in-house counsels earn? And this is the survey, tá? Essa foi a pesquisa aqui. Aqui é o salário normalmente ele é dado com a base anual, né? K quer dizer 1.000, então of in-house counsels at Fortune 500 company, que são as 500 maiores companhias, né? Mais importantes e mais rentáveis. 1% earn less than 100K per year. 31% earn between $200,000 and $259,000 per year. And you see that if you work for a Fortune 250 company, the salaries increase. Now, the general counsel is the lawyer who is employed by an organization, company, or government agency, and he is or she is usually the head of the legal department. Ou seja, head of the legal department, diretor jurídico. So here, and I took this news from Bloomberg Law. Starbucks named Bradley Lehman as its top lawyer less than a month after installing a new chief executive officer. Starbucks has appointed, nomeou, right? a new general counsel. Now, prior to this person, the general counsel was Rachel Gonzalez. I thought that was interesting because she is a Latina woman who was the general counsel for Starbucks. And the headline, a manchete diz, as a Latina general counsel, Gonzalez is part of a group that makes up less than 3% of legal chiefs in the 500 largest companies in the US. So were you able to understand that? That's a little bit sad, right? Ela é uma das latinas, né, que estão representadas numa proporção de só 3%. Entre os diretores jurídicos of the 500 largest corporations in the US. Okay, now coming to our last segment. Let's analyze the types of practice. You can have a transactional practice, and transactional work primarily focuses on structuring and facilitating business transactions, such as M&A, merger and acquisitions, fusões e aquisições, contracts, real estate, agora real estate law, direito imobiliário. So real estate deals, negócios, né, transações imobiliárias, to ensure legal compliance and favorable outcomes. Outcomes, resultados, né? Para assegurar resultados favoráveis aos seus clientes. So, transactional practice. As opposed to, em oposição a quê? Litigation, né? Litígio. Litigation involves representing clients in disputes. Aqui uma palavra importante. Dispute, disputa, litígios, right? E como se diz lead? Lead. Dispute. The dispute é a lead. And legal, now going back, let's go back to our phrase. I'm going to restart. Litigation involves representing clients in disputes and legal proceedings, aiming, visando, to achieve, alcançar, favorable results in court, or through negotiation of out-of-court settlements. Vocês lembram dessa palavra? Out-of-court settlement. A gente viu, acho que 2 vezes nessa aula. Out-of-court settlement, acordo extrajudicial. Out-of-court settlement, acordo extrajudicial. To settle out of court, celebrar acordo extrajudicial. Another type of practice is alternative dispute resolution. Métodos alternativos de resolução de conflitos, right? So they are mediation, arbitration, and conciliation. Very similar to our words in Portuguese, our terms, mediação, arbitragem e conciliação. I have a bonus question for you. Como se diz sentença arbitral? Sentença arbitral. So the word sentença is award when you're talking about arbitration, award. Now, some of the practice areas. You have corporate law, direito societário, banking and financing, direito bancário e financeiro. A third one that is very important nowadays because of cybersecurity, segurança cibernética, né? Privacy and data security law, privacidade e proteção de dados. You have real estate law, as we just saw, real estate law, direito imobiliário. We have tax law, direito tributário. E aqui também eu vou falar sobre uma false friend, né? Tax quer dizer imposto. Tax, imposto. And fee quer dizer taxa. So pay attention. Tax, imposto. Fee, F-E-E, taxa. Tá? Intellectual property, propriedade intelectual. Now, in American English, administrative law. Administrative. Can you repeat after me? Administrative law. Administrative law. Government contracts and procurement. Procurement. procurement, licitação, procurement. Law. Tort litigation. Now, tort is very important. The study of tort within the common law is very important. Tort quer dizer responsabilidade civil. And it's not just, one little subject. Não é só uma matéria que você estuda na faculdade de Direito. It's actually a very important branch, é um ramo do currículo que é muito importante. Tort law. Tort law, responsabilidade civil, tort litigation, litígios envolvendo responsabilidade civil, né? Family law, direito da família ou das famílias. Environmental law, direito ambiental. And criminal law, direito penal. Now, I've introduced here, I've shown here some of the ways law firms present their attorneys on their website. So, for example, Marissa Alter Nelson, a nationally recognized litigator. Então, litigator quer dizer o quê? O advogado especializado em litígio, right? Em representar os clientes em juízo. A recognized litigator helps corporate clients secure favorable verdicts in high-stakes litigation. High stakes são casos, né, litígios de alta importância ou alto valor, né, e por isso importante, mas não necessariamente pela quantia monetária, né? It can also be because it's going to affect some sort of right, something very important. You can say it's high stakes. When you have something at stake, você tem algo que pode ser perdido ou em jogo, né? Ter algo. There is a lot at stake here. There is a lot at stake. E aí o steak, gente, é S-T-A-K-E, tá? Não é o steak do bife, não. Se pronuncia da mesma maneira, mas se escreve de maneira diferente. Em jogo, né? There is a lot at stake here. Tem muita coisa em jogo aqui. So, stake. S-T-A-S-T-A-K-E. And optimal, and going back to her introduction, so Ms. Nelson is a nationally recognized litigator, helps corporate clients secure favorable verdicts in high-stake litigation and optimal out-of-court settlements. She guides clients in their most complex business, commercial, and financial disputes. So I'm going to leave you with homework if you would like. I mean, it's obviously optional, but if you'd like to do it, here it is. I have a challenge for you to have your little blurb, seu pequeno textinho, né, para você se apresentar. So now you're ready for your own introduction. My name is, or I am, and then you say, you mention your title, or what you do. So here, I am a practicing lawyer with a focus on, or I am a sole practitioner, or you can say I am a fourth-year law student at UERJ, and then you can say a top law school in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro's top law school. I am a partner, sócio. I am an associate attorney. I am an in-house counsel at X, Y, and Z. Or I'm the head of the legal department at X, Y, and Z. So what else can you say? You can say, I am a litigator, and then you specify, I represent clients before lower and higher courts. Or you can say, eu lido com direito administrativo. Sorry, minha garganta tá realmente... I represent clients before administrative authorities. I represent clients in court. I specialize in transactional law, or, you can say real estate law. I advise clients on matters relating, né? Eu aconselho meus clientes em tais assuntos. I provide counsel, a nice way of saying it. I provide counsel, I provide legal advice, etc., right? So here you have several, and then you can detail a little bit more. So here we have a little, and you can practice if you want. We have a little chart where you have the names of the lawyers, their role, their company or law firm, the type of practice they are, they are engaged in, their practice area, and their specific expertise. And then an answer key and gabarito. So here I have some answer key options for you. Now you can say, Roberto Fontes guides clients in a wide variety of business transactions. He specializes in M&A, contract negotiation, and real estate deals. Let's go for someone who works as a legal counsel. Did we have? Yeah, for example, a compliance specialist, Marcia Bellucci, provides regulatory guidance, conducting risk assessments and offering solutions for privacy and data security. Again, you can say data or data, according to your wish. So guys, if you would like to write your blurb and send it to me, you can probably send it to Esther, and Esther can forward it to me. I'll be glad to review it for next class, okay? I just ask you that you send it before next class. So I encourage you to try. I hope that the class today was useful. By the way, I have an announcement para os alunos que assistirem as 4 aulas. No final das 4 aulas, a Speak Legal vai ter uma surpresa da Speak Legal para vocês, tá? Anyhow, it was really a pleasure being here with you. If you have any questions regarding our class, you can definitely send them to Esther, and I will be very, very glad to answer them next class. Tá? Se vocês tiverem sugestões ou dúvidas sobre o conteúdo, pronúncia, significado, I will be very glad to answer your questions. Vai ser um prazer. So, Bruno, would you like to say anything or no? And Esther, do you have anything to add? No? Okay, guys, then I hope you enjoyed the class. I was very glad to be here with you, and I'll see you next Wednesday when we are going to be talking about the Brazilian, comparing and contrasting the Brazilian judiciary and the American judiciary. Okay, see you later. Bye. Oh. Thank you all. Thank you all.